Hello and welcome everyone. Uh, this is our third session, right? And in this session, we are going to discuss about the further uh, types of chemical reactions. In the last class, we had discussed about the two types of chemical reaction. That is the yes, very nice. The combination reaction and decomposition reaction, right? Along with the endothermic reactions and exothermic reactions. Okay, so next on the types of chemical reaction we have displacement reaction, right? So अगर आप लोगों को याद हो तो मैंने जब स्टार्टिंग में in the starting of the session, the second session, right, I've taught all four types of chemical reactions, right? So at that time I've already taught and told what exactly the displacement reaction is, right? So let's just read it out, the definition of it. The reaction in which one element displaced or replaced or removed other element is known as displacement reaction. Now, after reading this definition, I hope you guys have recalled what I've taught over there in the second session. If you remembered, I have used the three elements: one red color circle, blue box, and yellow circle. Right. So to explain the the single displacement reaction, I have told you that there was the compound, one compound, right, of red circle and blue box, right? And in the reaction, after getting the reaction done, the red circle was replaced, right, or displaced by the yellow circle. Remember, right? So exactly the same thing is mentioned over here. I'm just reading out the definition again that it can make it very clear to you. The reaction in which a one element displaced or replaced or removed another element is known as a displacement reaction. Okay. The example which is given over here, I have already given this example in the first session when I was explaining the indication for the chemical reaction, whether the chemical reaction has taken place or not. Remember, at that time we had the one indication, change in color. So at that time I have told you this example of the copper sulfate solution. When we dip the iron nail into the copper sulfate solution, the color of the copper sulfate solution is blue. Sorry, was blue initially, and after getting the reaction done, the color changes, and the color changes from blue to green, right? So that green color was of iron sulfate, and the iron nail will have the coat of copper on it. So that is the same example, that the same reaction over here. The reaction between the iron and the copper sulfate, right? So iron plus copper sulfate gives the ferrous sulfate or the iron sulfate plus copper. So you can see in the figure the copper is displaced by the iron here, right? So what exactly I can say, the iron has thrown away the copper and find its place with the sulfate and produces the iron sulfate. Understood? So in this reaction, the iron has displaced or removed the another element, copper, from the copper sulfate solution. And that's why we can say the displacement reaction has taken place. Which displacement? The single displacement has done, right? There are some more examples for the single displacement reaction. You can see the first reaction, the zinc plus the copper sulfate. So the ZnSO4, that is zinc sulfate plus copper, right? अगर आप लोगों को याद हो तो I have told you that this displacement reaction will take in place based on the principle of reactivity series of metals, right? This is what we are going to study in the science itself in the next chapter or something, metals and non-metals, right? You can see the second equation where the lead is there and the copper chloride solution is there, right? So lead is displacing the copper and producing the lead chloride, and copper is going to get separated. Okay, so read it out what exactly it is written over here. The zinc and lead are more reactive elements than copper. They displace the copper from its compounds. Understood, everyone? Right. So I hope you will take this thing, or you'll keep this thing in your mind, that the displacement reaction are going to take in place based on the principle of reactivity series. Right. The more powerful or the more reactive matters is going to replace or displace the less reactive metal from its solution only. Okay. Next, we have the double displacement reaction. Exactly same thing, exactly same, which we have already done there in the, sorry, the displacement reaction, the single displacement. But here the displacement is going to done twice, right? That is the only difference. Let me just read out the definition. Reactions in which there is an exchange of ions between the reactants are called double displacement reactions. For example, the formation of the barium sulfate and the sodium chloride from the sodium sulfate and barium chloride. If you can see this thing, if you can make this thing very clear, right, then it is good for you. You can see here we have the sodium sulfate, right? And another thing, or the another compound which we have is the barium chloride, right? So here we are going to use the two compounds on the reactant side. And if you recall, on the single displacement reaction, we had used a one compound and one single element. Okay, so this is going to be the difference between the single displacement and double displacement. So you need to keep this thing in your mind. Let's just focus on the equation right now. So from the sodium sulfate, the sodium is going to get, yes, displaced by the barium, right? And it is going to produce the barium sulfate, right? Okay. And secondly, uska ulta hoga. Here, yes, the sodium is going to get mixed with the chlorine and will produce the sodium chloride. Okay, right? So the displacement has done twice over here. That's why this is known as an double displacement reaction. Any reaction that produces the precipitate can be called a precipitation reaction. Now, you must have a question that what we exactly mean by the word precipitate, right? So, precipitate means the residue, or something which is not dissolved into the solution, something which is insoluble in the solution is known as an precipitate, right? So, in an example over here from the sodium sulfate and the barium chloride, we're going to produce the barium sulfate and sodium chloride, right? So the formation of the barium sulfate and the sodium chloride, where you can see the sodium chloride which remains in the solution. Okay, so sodium chloride is going to remain over there only in a form of a residue, or something which is not getting dissolved into the solution, is known as an precipitate. Okay. Here I've tried to explain the single and the double displacement reaction very easily, right? So the general form of a single displacement is A plus BC equals to AC plus B, right? But in the double displacement, the AB plus CD, right? So A is going to get mixed with the D and B is going to get mixed with the C. So this is going to be the double displacement reaction. Okay, right? I hope this is clear with every one of you, the single displacement and double displacement reaction. Next, we have oxidation and reduction, right? I've told you this thing when I was explaining those four basic chemical reaction, that there are not only four of this which we are going to study in this chapter. There are two more, which is known as an oxidation and reduction. right? Now, what do we mean by the word oxidation? It simply says that in the oxidation reaction, if oxygen is getting added or hydrogen is removed, then it is known as an oxidation reaction. Okay, what I can say, the reaction in which the oxygen is added or hydrogen is removed, it may be either of this is possible. If you are adding the oxygen to the equation, then it may considered as an oxidation reaction, or in any chance or any chance the oxygen is not getting added into the reaction, but if hydrogen is getting removed from the reaction, from any component of any element of the chemical reaction, then even it is considered as an oxidation reaction. Okay, and strictly opposite of it will be the reduction reaction. So in the reduction, what may happen, hydrogen is added or oxygen is removed, right? So either of this is possible. If there is a reaction in which the hydrogen is added into the reaction, right, then it may be considered as a reduction reaction. Or if by any chance hydrogen is not getting added but oxygen is removed, then it is known as a reduction reaction. Okay, so here you can see in the figure, sorry, in the chemical reaction, there is copper and oxygen, and this is the combination reaction where the copper and oxygen is getting mixed with each other. So you can see the oxygen is added on the surface of copper, right? That's why this is an example of the oxidation reaction. Very good, right? So here the oxygen is getting added into the reaction. That's why this is an example of the oxidation reaction, right? And in the next chemical equation, you can see the oxygen from the copper oxide is getting removed. You can see, right? There is an oxygen is getting removed from the copper. That's why this is the reduction, right? But it's not only the reduction. You can see over here there is an H2O, means in the H2 the oxygen has added, right? So this particular equation where the oxygen is removed from the one element and in another element the oxygen has been added. So here you can see there are the two reactions taken place altogether, the oxidation and reduction both, right? So here you can see the oxidation and reduction both has taken place in the same chemical reaction, and that's why this reaction is known as redox. What do we call it? We'll call it redox. The reduction and oxidation mixed together is known as an redox reaction. Understood this, right? Chaliye. If the substance gain the oxygen during the reaction, it is said to be oxidized. And if a substance loses the oxygen during the reaction, it is said to be reduced. Exactly same what I've explained. During this reaction, the copper oxide is losing the oxygen and being reduced. The hydrogen is gaining the oxygen and is being oxidized. In other words, one reactant gets oxidized while the other gets reduced during a reaction. Such reactions are called oxidation reduction reactions or redox reactions. Simply, this is exactly same thing which I've just explained in the previous slide, right? So the reactions in which the oxidation and reduction is done together, right? In the same reaction, if it is done, right, then it is known as an oxidation reduction, or shortly it is known as an redox reaction. Okay, you can see here we have this some more examples or some other examples of redox reaction. ZNO plus C gives Zn plus CO. So you can see the oxygen from the zinc has been removed and oxygen is added on the with the carbon. So again the oxygen and oxidation reduction has done together, that's why it is the redox. In the next one you can see the MnO2 plus 4HCl gives MnCl2 plus H2O plus Cl2, right? So from the manganese oxide the oxygen is removed, right, and manganese is mixed it with the chlorine over here, right, and in the HCl the oxygen is added into it, right? So from the manganese the oxygen is removed and then hydrogen the oxygen is added, that's why here even the oxidation and reduction has done together, and this is an example of the redox reaction. The the thing which is written over here in the green lines are that only, right? So I'm not going to repeat it again. I hope you guys are cleared with the redox reaction now, right? Let me just repeat myself once again for this. If the oxidation and reduction both are done on a same reaction, right, then it is known as an redox reaction. Next and the last topic of this chapter, we have the effects of oxidation reaction in everyday life. Okay, so there are two effects we are going to study in this particular chapter, right? One is corrosion, right? I mean, I hope you all are aware with this word corrosion, right? Because it is the worldwide problem. And the second one is rancidity. Okay, so we're going to discuss this both in this session itself. Chale, let's read it out. The definition of the corrosion. When a metal is attacked by the substances around it, such as moisture, acids, etc., it is said to corrode, and this process is called corrosion. The black coating on the silver and the green coating on a copper are other examples of corrosion. I hope you guys are aware with this, right? If you'll see when you'll purchase a new silver in form of an anything, in a ring, in a plate, or in any other form, right? When you will purchase it, it will be very shiny in nature, right? In the appearance I can say, but after some times when you will keep on using it in a regular life, on a regular day-to-day life, right, it starts removing its shiny, or its shine, in other words I can say, right? So what is going to happen, right? It is going to get dull, right? It is going to lose its shine, right? And after some time you'll be able to see there are black patches over the surface of the silver, a spoon or a dish or a ring or something, right? So what is that? It is the corrosion. Okay, you must be aware that there is the brownish color coating, reddish brown color coating on the iron surface in the monsoon season generally, right? That is also the corrosion of the iron material. This is very common, I guess, right? You must be aware with this, right? You all must be aware with this. Like when when this iron material or the iron particles are exposed to the moist atmosphere or the humid atmosphere, right, or mainly during this monsoon season, something like that, right, it has this layer, right, deposition on the surface, which is known as an corrosion, right? So this corrosion changes its property, right? So on the surface, I mean the iron which has the corrosion, right? So the surface will not be the iron anymore. It will be considered as an iron oxide, right? It will form its oxide. Clear, everyone? Right? So let's just see the effects of the corrosion. The corrosion causes the damage to the car bodies, bridges, the iron railings, ships, and to all objects made of metals, especially those of iron. I hope you guys are clear with this now. Corrosion of iron is a serious problem. Every year, an enormous amount of money is spent to replace the damaged iron. Okay, here are some pictures where you can see the corrosion done on the cars, bridges, and some other places, right? So I hope you guys have seen this many a places. The rusting, it may call it as in rusting as well, right? The rusting of iron makes it brittle in nature. And otherwise, the iron are considered as in the strongest and the toughest material ever, right? But this rusting makes it soft and the brittle. We can break it and we can cut it very easily once it gets rusted, right? So if the rusting is done on the bridges kind of a thing, it cause a lot of damage to the human life as well, right? And we don't want that happen. That's why we used to keep it corrected in the regular interval of time, and it causes a lot of money. Okay, here again are some examples. You can see the screws and nuts and the gates and the bridges, right? The rings and all. Next, we have the rancidity. As I said, the second effect of oxidation, right? If I wanted to explain this rancidity in the very simple terms and the very simple language, then what I can say, the rancidity means the spoilage. Spoilage of food items is known as an rancidity, right? What do we mean by the spoilage? Spoilage means bigger jana, right? If you, I don't know whether you guys have an idea about this or not, but if you wanted to store something, or if you wanted to keep something for a long period of time, I'm considering, and I'm talking about the food items especially right now, right? If you wanted to preserve something for a long period of time, then what we used to do, we used to put them into the airtight container, right? Now what do we mean by the word airtight container? The airtight container means the container in which the air cannot go through it, right? मतलब cannot passes through it. That is known as an airtight container. So what exactly we are doing by doing, I mean, by keeping the food into the airtight container, we are not allowing the atmosphere oxygen to get in touch with our food items, right? If the oxygen mixes or being in touch with the food items, it allows the food to get spoiled, right? वो उसको बिगाड़ना चालू कर देता है. And that's why, to keep those things for a long period of time, or to keep them preserved, we used to keep them into the refrigerator, or we used to keep them into the airtight container. You must have seen that when you will open the food packets like chips or a kurkure or something, right? What does it have? What does it have? It have the gas fill into it, right? And why it is so? The gas does not allow the food item to get in contact with the oxygen, right? And due to that, it decreases the rate of getting spoiled. Understood? So that is what exactly we mean by the rancidity, right? जब खाना बिगड़ जाता है, when the food is getting spoiled or something, right? What exactly happens? It smells very badly. It's really smelled very bad, right? See, what we have in the definition: when the fats and the oils are oxidized, they become rancid. Now, what do we mean by the oxidized? When it left over into the exposure of the oxygen or the air, it is going to get rancid, and their smell and taste changes. Usually, the substances which prevent the oxidation, that is, antioxidants, are added to the food containing fats and oils. Keeping food in airtight container helps to slow down oxidation. Do you know that the chips manufacturer usually flush bags of chips with the gas such as nitrogen to prevent the chips from getting oxidized. You can see here there is the green patches on the sandwich bread, right? तो वो क्या है? This is an example that the food has got spoiled, right? If you remember when your mom or grandmom is preparing a pickle at your home, right, what they used to do, they used to keep a big layer of oil over the surface of the pickle. And why they used to do that? Right, they don't want the oxygen to get into the contact with it, right, and they don't want it to get oxidized, right? So we can preserve the food like this. We can add the chemical preservatives like a vinegar or something into the food items to prevent them for a long period of time. Understood this, everyone? Right. So this was the last topic of our chapter, the effect of oxidation in the daily life, the corrosion and rancidity. Right. So with this, I'm announcing that we are done with our first chapter, the chemical reactions and chemical equation. Right. I hope you guys have enjoyed this sessions and have learned properly what I'm trying to whatever I have tried to explain. Right. Okay. So I wish everyone and I want you guys to go through the chapter from your textbook line by line, and let me know if you have any queries and a problem with any particular topic of your chapter. Okay, so see you guys, see you in the next class with a new chapter. Bye everyone, take care.